so much scandal it's hard to keep track of. So the domestic scandal that's facing the White House involves details of an extramarital affair, alleged hush money, and a secret restraining order. But it has real legal and political implications. So let's follow the money. This revolves around the alleged relationship between then businessman and reality TV star Donald Trump and adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The two allegedly engaged in an affair in 2006, shortly after Melania Trump gave birth to the couple's son, Barrett. NBC News learned late Wednesday that the president's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, obtained a secret restraining order in an arbitration proceeding, telling Daniels she could face legal penalties if she speaks out publicly about that relationship. The Wall Street Journal reports that on October 27, 2016, days before the election, Cohen sent a $130,000 payment to Daniels. It was through First Republic Bank. The payment was so large that it was flagged as suspicious by Cohen's bank, First Republic. He insists this money came out of his personal funds and refused to discuss a reason for the payment. Now, after Trump's election victory, Cohen began complaining to friends that he had not yet been reimbursed for the money. This is according to the Wall Street Journal, raising suspicions about the nature of the payment. Watchdog groups allege that even if the payment was made by Cohen, it would still fall under campaign finance laws. The agreement goes that if Trump wanted to, or their argument goes that if Trump wanted to simply protect his reputation, a payment would have been made in 2011 when Daniels told In Touch magazine about the affair. The timing of the payment, just 12 days before the presidential election, puts it squarely in the realm of a politically motivated effort. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders acknowledged that yesterday.
The president has addressed these directly and made very well clear that none of these allegations are true. This case has already been won in arbitration, and anything beyond that, I would refer you to the president's outside counsel.
But an arbitration ruling isn't a win. It only imposes a temporary restraining order on Daniels, which could be litigated further. Sanders' comments add credence to the reporting, but her characterization is misleading, to say the least. Joining me now is Paul S. Ryan, Vice President for Policy and Litigation at the nonprofit government watchdog group Common Cause. He has spent 20 years specializing in finance, ethics, and election law. Paul, as much as this is interesting and salacious, this could be about an affair. It could be about anything. It's really about a payment that Michael Cohen made, a man who worked for Donald Trump, on behalf of a man who doesn't settle anything, who likes to talk about the fact that he doesn't settle anything, and who will not admit to this payment. What is the complaint that Common Cause has filed with the Federal Election Commission, and what are you trying to achieve?
Well, Americans have a right to know who is spending money to influence their vote on Election Day. And this is not a politically controversial right. This is something that Republicans and Democrats and independents and conservatives and liberals and moderates, and even the U.S. Supreme Court with its conservative majority, they all agree. Americans have a right to know who's spending money to influence their vote on Election Day.
And there's a law that makes that the case.
Yeah, there is a federal campaign finance law that says any payment for the purpose of influencing an election is an expenditure, and any payment, any expenditure that's made in coordination with or directed by a candidate is an in-kind contribution to that campaign and must be reported by that campaign to the FEC. That didn't happen here. That's a violation. The other potential violation hinges on the source of the funds. If the money came from anyone other than Donald Trump, then we have an additional contribution violation, an illegally large contribution or an illegal corporate contribution. Now, Donald Trump, he can spend as much of his own money to influence the election as he wants, but if anyone else provided this funds, that's a second violation in addition to the non-disclosure.
So let's put it this way. If we determined that Donald Trump did direct the spending of this money and that somehow the money came from him or it was reimbursed to his lawyer, Cohen, would that still be a violation?
Still a violation if Donald Trump directed the spending of this money. And to be honest, even if he didn't, Common Cause, we filed our complaint in January when we learned that Michael Cohen was directing all of this hush money negotiations and payment. Even the involvement of Michael Cohen means this is a Trump campaign expense. The Trump campaign was required by law to disclose it to the FEC and consequently to the public. That didn't happen. So we're talking about a campaign finance law violation regardless of where the money came from.
So I want to be very clear on this. The implication, the allegation is that the payment was made, maybe directed by Mr. Trump or maybe not, but it was made in order to affect the outcome of an election or to influence voting in the election.
Correct. And the other critically important fact that makes this a violation is that it was done, even if not directed by President Trump, in coordination with President Trump and or Michael Cohen or other campaign officials.
How important and how easy or difficult will it be to prove that part?
Well, we filed our complaints with both the Department of Justice and the Federal Election Commission, both of which have subpoena power. They have the power to open an investigation, to subpoena email communications, to compel testimony from Michael Cohen, Stephanie Clifford, and others to find out who knew what and when. Stephanie Clifford alleged in her lawsuit filed in California this week around the contract that the president was directly involved, that the president directed Michael Cohen to initiate these negotiations, and that, to her knowledge, the purpose of all of this was to keep her quiet in the context of the election to help ensure President Trump's victory. So we already have one party to the negotiations, Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, giving us the evidence we need to make clear that this was a violation of federal law.
Do you believe the Justice Department or the Election Commission is going to do something about this? You've outlined that they have the power to. Will they?
I'm certainly hopeful that they will. The Federal Election Commission doesn't have a great track record. But look, since we filed our complaint in January 22nd, I believe the date was, the facts have continued to trickle out. The evidence has continued to mount, both by Michael Cohen's own statements, as well as this new lawsuit from Stephanie Clifford, and some excellent reporting by reporters at the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post. So as the evidence mounts, I have a hard time seeing the FEC not doing something about this. That would be remarkable if the FEC refused to do its job here.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Paul, thanks very much for the work that you're doing.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.